The locked chest in the wreckage. The twin suns of Larthos were setting when Darren, a human merchant, entered the wreckage field. His hovercart rattled over the cracked ground as he scanned the junk with tired eyes. The old ship graveyard had been picked clean by scavengers, but Darren still searched. Sometimes strange and rare things showed up where no one bothered to look. He wiped sweat from his forehead and walked past broken engine parts, shattered glass domes, and crushed cargo crates. The smell of old fuel and burning metal still hung in the air. He was about to turn back when something shiny caught his eye. Half buried under twisted beams was a large metallic chest. It looked heavy. The surface was made of dark silver alloy and strange alien symbols were carved into it. A red blinking light glowed near the lock. It hadn't been opened in a long time. Darren called over a local scavenger standing nearby. "Hey, this chest yours?" The alien, a three-eyed vendor with dry green skin, looked at it and backed away quickly. "No. Bad box. Leave it." It cursed. Cursed? Darren raised an eyebrow. Been there since the crash. No one opens. People who try vanish. Darren smiled. He had heard these kinds of stories before. Superstition usually meant value. "I'll buy it." The alien looked nervous but accepted a few credits. "You carry. I not help." With effort, Darren lifted the heavy chest onto his cart. The lock stayed cold under his fingers and the blinking light didn't stop. He took it back to his small, trader outpost near the edge of the ruins. That night the wind howled. Darren sat by a small heater staring at the strange chest. The blinking light now pulsed faster. Something inside the box made a soft tap-tap sound. He leaned closer. Then came a voice, a whisper. Weak. Scared. "Please. Help." Darren jumped up, knocking over his drink. He stared at the chest, heart pounding. He hadn't imagined it. The voice was real. Faint, but real. He pressed his ear. "To the chest, I can't breathe. It's dark." Darren grabbed his toolkit. The lock was alien tech, but after years of trading across systems, he had learned a few tricks. Wires, heat tools, code breakers. He worked fast, ignoring the sweat rolling down his face. After 15 minutes, the lock clicked. The chest hissed, opened slowly, releasing cold mist from inside. Darren held his breath. Lying curled inside was a small child, not human. His skin was pale blue. Glowing lines like tattoos ran across his arms and face. His eyes, large and silver, blinked weakly as he stared up at Darren. He wore a torn, royal-looking cloak and a small pendant with a broken symbol. The boy gasped for air and coughed. Darren knelt beside him and helped him sit up. "You're safe now," Darren said gently. "Who are you?" The boy looked terrified. He clutched his pendant tightly. "They locked me in. They were going to kill me." "Who?" The child's voice trembled. "They betrayed my family. I ran. They're still looking for me." Darren's mind raced. This wasn't just some lost kid. The markings, the pendant, the clothes. This was a noble child, maybe even royalty. "What's your name, kid?" The boy shook his head slowly. "I can't tell. If they hear it, they can find me, but I remember what my mother said. Find a human. Trust them. That's why I called out." Darren stared at him in silence. "Of all the traders?" "All. The planets. Why him?" Outside, he heard a low humming sound. A scout ship, not one of his. He ran to the window and saw a dark, sleek ship landing in the distance, too quiet, too fast. Not a good sign. He turned to the boy. "Pack your things, we're leaving." "But where?" Darren grabbed a satchel and powered up his hovercart. "Somewhere they can't find you." The boy looked up at him. "Will you protect me?" Darren nodded. "I don't know who you are yet, kid, but yes, I will." He shut the lid of the chest and threw a blanket over it. Just as he rolled the cart out into the night, he glanced back one last time. Whoever that boy was, his life just got far more dangerous, and Darren's did too. Darren didn't sleep that night. The alien boy lay curled under a blanket in the corner of his small outpost, eyes wide open, silent. The fear in his silver eyes said everything. He was used to hiding, not resting. Darren watched the dark skies from his lookout window. The strange black ship had landed on the edge of the ruins just an hour ago. No signals, no ID. It wasn't a trade ship it was hunting, and it had come for the boy. Suddenly the lights flickered. A sharp, high-pitched sound filled the air, like an invisible knife cutting through metal. The boy shot up from his spot and clung to Darren's arm. "They're here. The Shadow Walkers. They found me." Before Darren could ask what that meant, a deep mechanical voice echoed from outside. "Turn over the child. You are not his blood. You have 1 minute." Darren froze. He hadn't even broadcast their position. How had they found him so fast? The boy pointed to his pendant. "They can track my blood. The necklace? It's not just a symbol, it's a beacon." Darren swore under his breath. He pulled the pendant off the boy's neck and dropped it into a steel case. He grabbed an emergency signal jammer from the shelf and crushed it into the case with the pendant. Then he threw the whole box into his furnace and slammed it shut. Boom. No more signal. But too late. The walls of the outpost shook. "They're coming," the boy whispered. "They can move without sound, without light. They come like smoke." Darren grabbed his coat, tossed a pack of supplies over his shoulder, and loaded his pulse rifle. "We're not staying. Can you run?" The boy nodded once, firm and brave. "Good. Stay close. Don't stop. No matter what." The front door exploded inward. Dark shapes poured in like shadows wearing armor. No faces, no words, just black, flowing movement. Darren fired a quick stun burst at one. It slowed, but didn't stop. He grabbed the boy's hand and sprinted through the back exit. They ran through the junk fields, over broken ship parts and dusty crates. The boy was fast, but the shadows were faster. They moved like smoke and fire, silent, deadly, relentless. Darren led the boy into a narrow trench carved by crashed vessels. The path was tight and sharp, with walls of rusted metal on both sides. "This way," Darren said. "They can't fly in here." As they squeezed through, the boy suddenly cried out. His leg was bleeding. He had stepped on a piece of jagged metal. Darren didn't hesitate. He lifted the boy onto his back and kept running. His breath came hard, his muscles ached. But he didn't stop. Above them, the black shapes circled. "They won't stop," the boy whispered weakly. "They're programmed. Not alive. They don't think. They only hunt." "Then I'll just have to outthink them," Darren said, through clenched teeth. He reached the edge of the trench and spotted an old abandoned mining tunnel, half buried and blocked by rubble. Perfect. He ducked inside, still carrying the boy, and pulled down a broken beam to cover the entrance. Inside, it was dark and cold. Dust choked the air, but at least they were alone. For now. He sat the boy down and checked the wound, not deep, but bleeding. He quickly wrapped it with a strip of cloth from his bag. The boy's eyes shone in the dark. "Why are you helping me? You don't even know my name." Darren looked at him. "Because someone has to. And maybe you were meant to find me." The boy leaned back against the wall. "They killed my parents, I saw it. They said no heirs should remain, but I escaped. I climbed into the chest, it locked behind me. I thought I would die there." "You won't," Darren said quietly. "Not on my watch." Suddenly something clicked, not a sound, a feeling. Darren pulled out his pocket scanner. A soft red light blinked, motion nearby. Too close. Far too close. "They're here," he whispered. He turned to the boy. "Do you trust me?" The boy nodded. "Then follow me. We're going deeper." He pulled a rusted door open and led them into the blackness of the mine. Only one old light flickered on the ceiling, swinging gently. Their shadows danced on the wall. Behind them, the shadows entered the tunnel. Deep inside the old mine, the air was cold and still. Each step echoed like a whisper from the past. Darren led the way with a dim light strapped to his forehead, holding his rifle tightly. Behind him, the alien boy limped, quiet and alert, his silver eyes watching every shadow. The deeper they went, the more the path twisted. It was like walking into the planet's bones, silent, forgotten, and full of secrets. At last, they reached a small chamber, collapsed on 3 sides but still dry and safe. Darren dropped his pack and sat the boy down carefully. "You need rest," he said. "I'm fine," the boy answered, but he looked pale. The bandage on his leg was soaked red. Darren pulled out a water pack and a few protein rations. He handed them to the boy, who took them with both hands and ate slowly. Darren watched him. Something still didn't add up. The hunters, the strange pendant, the noble clothes. There had to be a reason this child was so important. Darren asked, "What's on your skin? Those glowing lines. They're not tattoos, are they?" The boy paused, looking nervous. "I don't know everything," he said softly. "But my mother told me the marks are a memory, a message passed through blood. My people used them in the old days to hide secrets. When I was born, they marked me." Darren leaned closer. "What kind of secrets?" The boy didn't answer. Instead, he rolled up his sleeve and exposed his arm under the soft blue glow of a crystal lamp. The glowing lines on his skin shimmered and began to move, lines reshaping, merging, pulsing. Then, Darren saw it. A map, not of this cave, not of any place he recognized, but clearly a star chart. There were planetary rings, symbols, and a blinking point. "What is that?" Darren asked, amazed. The boy touched the blinking point with his finger. "It's called the Vault. My father told me it was our family's last hope. A place built in secret, far from the Empire. Only a true heir can find it." Darren stared in shock. "Why me? Why did your mother say to find a human?" The boy's voice became a whisper. "Because humans can go places others cannot. You trade across borders. You are ignored by the empires. You survive where others fail. My mother said, if anyone could protect the heir, it would be a human." Darren sat back, heart pounding. This child, this small, injured boy, was the key to something ancient, something powerful. Outside the cave, thunder rumbled. The ground vibrated slightly. The shadows were still searching. "We have to move again," Darren said. "Where does this map lead?" The boy focused. "There's an old shuttle buried near the eastern ridge. It belonged to my family's guard. If it still works, we can follow the map." Darren nodded. "Then that's our next stop. You'll guide me?" The boy looked up and gave a small, tired smile. "Yes, Protectar." Darren froze at the word. "What did you call me?" "Protectar," the boy said again. "It means guardian in my language. You've earned it." Darren didn't know what to say. He had traveled many systems, seen many things, made and lost fortunes. But nothing had prepared him for this. He had found a child locked inside a chest. And now that child carried a map hidden in his blood. A secret legacy powerful enough to shake worlds. A low screech echoed through the mine. Metal on metal. They were here. The shadows had found the trail. "Let's go," Darren said, grabbing the boy's hand. "Show me the path." Together they slipped through the cracks of the cave wall, following the glowing trail on the boy's skin. 2 days later, Darren and the boy stood at the gates of Telvok's Rest. It was a dusty outpost town built into the red cliffs of the Karos Wastes, one of the few places on the planet where travelers could find shelter, repairs, and supplies without questions. Smugglers, bounty hunters, traders, and exiles came here. It was neutral ground, or so people believed. Darren's face was covered with a scarf. The boy wore a cloak 2 sizes too big, hood hiding his glowing eyes and marked skin. They walked slowly down the main street, blending in with the crowd. A rusty sign creaked above. No credits, no questions, no trouble. Darren had been here, once before, years ago. The town hadn't changed, same heat, same smell, same dangers hiding behind fake smiles. He took the boy to an old repair shop run by a four-armed alien named Moxo. Moxo didn't care who you were as long as you paid. Need a shuttle core, fresh nav maps, and fuel cells, Darren said. Moxo narrowed four eyes. Expensive list, Darren. You finally robbed someone? No, just traveling heavy. Moxo grunted and went to fetch the parts. The boy looked around nervously. This place feels wrong. You're not wrong, Darren said. But we'll be gone soon. They got a room in the back of an inn. Darren treated the boy's leg again and gave him food. The boy rested while Darren checked the town's network for shuttle access points, but something was off. Too many eyes followed them in the street. Too many whispers stopped when they passed. That night, while the boy slept, Darren went to the market. A friend of his, an old trader named Ven, spotted him. You brought trouble, didn't you? Ven asked. What do you mean? Posters, bounties, quiet ones, shared through closed channels. High price. No photo, just a description. Human trader with young alien noble. Return alive or dead. Darren's stomach dropped. Someone in this town already knows who the boy is, Ven warned. And credits make people forget friendship. Darren rushed back to the inn. Too late. The door was open. Inside, furniture was broken. The bed was empty. Blood drops on the floor. The boy was gone. Darren clenched his fists. His first instinct was panic. But then something caught his eye. A small item left on the table. The boy's pendant, the one Darren had thrown into the fire. No, it was a new one. A message carved into the back in alien script. Darren activated, his scanner to translate. He lives. Trade him for your life. South Gate. 1 hour. Darren's eyes narrowed. Rage burned in his chest. These people didn't want peace. They didn't care who the boy was. They only saw a reward. He left the inn and made his way through the back alleys, silent as a shadow. He didn't take his hovercart, just his knife, his rifle, and a promise. Theo. Southgate was quiet when he arrived. 2 bounty hunters stood guard. A third held the boy by the arm. His cloak was gone, his glowing skin markings visible in the moonlight. The child looked up, not afraid, but calm. Brave. One of the hunters smiled. Give us your weapon. Maybe we won't shoot. Darren dropped the rifle. But he didn't come unarmed. From his sleeve, he threw a flash bomb at their feet. Light exploded. He rushed forward in the confusion, elbowed the first, kicked the second, grabbed the third by the neck and slammed him into the wall. He scooped the boy into his arms and ran into the shadows. Alarms rang through the town. They didn't stop running until they reached the edge of the cliff road. Darren activated a signal device, one of the few he hadn't sold, and within minutes, a hidden shuttle from his emergency cache rose from the ground, hidden under rocks and scrap. They climbed aboard. Darren set the course using the map on the boy's skin. As the ship lifted into the night sky, the boy sat beside him, bruised but safe. I'm sorry, he said. I should have hidden better. Darren shook his head. No, they should have protected you. But now we go to the place they fear. The boy looked out the window as Telvok's rest became small below them. What happens now, Protectar? Darren locked in the coordinates. Now, we find your past and take back your future. The desert moon of Grathos hung low and red in the sky. Darren's stolen shuttle limped through its atmosphere, smoking from a hit it had taken near the asteroid field. They hadn't been followed, but they hadn't escaped unharmed either. The boy sat beside Darren, quiet, hugging his knees. Where are we? He asked. Darren checked the console. Grathos, not on any legal map, but there's a war camp here, used to be a slaver pit. Now it's ruled by a warlord who calls himself Chief Varen. Are we safe? Darren looked at the flickering engine light. We don't have a choice. We need repairs, and I know someone here who might help, if he hasn't been killed yet. The camp was built inside the bones of a crashed dreadnought. Jagged metal towers surrounded it, and torches lit the pathways like it was some ancient coliseum. Loud cheers echoed from the central pit, an arena where prisoners fought for survival while others placed bets. Darren and the boy entered the camp and were quickly surrounded by guards in spiked armor. One of them recognized Darren. Human. "Scum," the guard growled. "You're supposed to be dead." "Nice to see you too," Darren replied. "I need repairs. I can pay." "You want to speak to Varen? You pay with blood." They dragged both Darren and the boy into the center arena. A crowd had already formed, cheering and throwing scraps into the pit. Above them sat Chief Varen, a massive, four-armed alien with metal plates bolted into his flesh. He laughed when he saw Darren. Well, the wandering merchant returns. "And you brought a prize?" The boy shrank behind Darren. His glowing markings began to faintly flicker. Varen pointed down. "You want your ship fixed? Fight. You win, you get your freedom. You lose, I sell you both to the highest bidder." Two massive gladiators stepped into the pit. One was covered in armor made from scrap metal. The other carried an electrified chain. Darren gritted his teeth. "Stay behind me," he whispered to the boy. The fight began. The crowd roared. Darren dodged a swing, rolled under a kick and fired his stun gun into the armored one's leg. It barely slowed him down. The second swung his chain, catching Darren's shoulder. Sparks flew. Pain shot through his body. He dropped to one knee, bleeding. The armored fighter raised his weapon high. Then, the boy screamed. It wasn't a normal scream. It was a sound that tore through the air, pure energy, ancient and powerful. The crowd fell silent. The chain snapped in half. Both fighters dropped to the ground, clutching their heads. Even Varen stood up, stunned. The boy floated a few inches, off the ground. His eyes glowed silver white. The lines on his skin burned with light. From his chest, a symbol appeared in the air, one only known to old empires, the mark of the lost noble house of Zorval. Varen stepped back. "No, it can't be." The boy spoke in a voice not entirely his own. "I am the last of my blood. You dare touch me." The silence was heavy. Then Varen fell to his knees. "Forgive me, young master," he said, head bowed. "I didn't. No, I swear it." One by one, the rest of the arena dropped to their knees. Fighters, guards, even the crowd. Darren stood slowly, stunned. The boy floated back down, the glow fading. He looked at Darren. "I didn't mean to hurt them, it just happened." Darren placed a hand on his shoulder. "You didn't hurt them. You reminded them who you are." Varen approached, careful not to make sudden moves. "Please, allow me to serve you. My clan once fought for your house. We failed to protect the Empire, but we will not fail again." The boy didn't speak. He looked up at Darren. The human gave a small nod. "We need your best ship," Darren said. "And a guide to the vault of the ancients." Varen raised his hand. "You shall have both." The war camp, once a place of blood and chaos, now waited on the words of a child who had just awakened a power the galaxy had forgotten. The stars stretched like rivers outside the viewport as Varen's private cruiser cut across deep space. Sleek, fast, and silent, it was a relic from the old war days, hidden underground for decades until now. Darren stood at the bridge, arms crossed, staring into the dark. Behind him, the boy sat on a raised chair meant for commanders. He didn't play with buttons or ask questions. He just sat still, staring at his glowing arms. The ship's AI, a soft female voice, spoke. "Arrival at vault coordinates, T-8 minutes." Darren turned. "You sure the map leads here?" The boy nodded slowly. "I don't know how, but I can feel it. Like a memory I didn't live, but still remember." The vault was real. That much they knew. It was hidden in an asteroid cloaked in radiation, invisible to scanners. The only way to find it was to carry its bloodline. As they neared the asteroid belt, a large black rock came into view, lifeless, jagged, and ordinary. Then the boy's skin glowed brighter. Lines danced across his arms and a pulse of light shot from his palm into the ship's controls. Suddenly the asteroid shifted. A hidden door opened. Genetic match confirmed, the AI said. Welcome, heir of Zorval. The cruiser docked smoothly inside the asteroid. They stepped out into silence. Inside was a massive metal hall. Silver walls lined with crystal panels. The air smelled clean. Soft blue light lit the room, as if waiting for them. The boy walked ahead as if pulled by an unseen force. Darren followed, scanning the area. No guards, no traps, just time frozen in steel. They reached a round chamber with a single glowing pedestal in the center. The boy stepped forward and placed his hand on it. The room rumbled. From above, a hologram shimmered into life. A tall alien woman with eyes just like the boy's. Her voice filled the chamber. My son, if you are seeing this, then we are gone. The boy froze. The woman continued. The Empire has fallen. Betrayed by those we once trusted, they hunted us, killed your father, and now they will come for you. Her face softened. But we planned for this. We created the vault, our last gift to the galaxy. Inside this station is the seed, knowledge, tech, and power far beyond anything in the known systems. Darren's heart beat faster. The seed? The boy's mother went on. Only one with Zorval blood can open it, but you cannot do it alone. That is why we left a message in your genes, a map, a key, and a name. She looked directly at the boy, then beyond, to Darren. You were told to find a human, not a soldier, not a king, a protector, one who survives not through power but through care. If he stands beside you now, then our hope was not wasted. The hologram flickered, unlock the seed, and rebuild not an empire of war, but a future of peace for all. Then it vanished. Silence returned. The boy stood frozen. His hands trembled. I didn't remember her voice, he whispered. Not until now. Darren placed a firm hand on his shoulder. You do now, and you're not alone. Suddenly, a panel opened in the floor. A staircase lit with soft, blue lights appeared. The vault was opening, but before they could step down, an alarm echoed through the chamber. Incoming ships detected. Multiple heat signatures. Trajectory, hostile. Darren's jaw tightened. They found us. The boy looked up, eyes full of both fear and purpose. Then we open the vault before they arrive. Darren loaded his blaster and nodded. Let's finish what your family started. They ran down the stairs toward the seed. The past had spoken. Now it was time for the future to rise. The vault shook as the warning sirens echoed through its ancient halls. Above them, enemy ships tore through the asteroid's outer layers like knives through cloth. Explosions echoed through the docking bay. Red lights flashed. But deep inside, the boy and the human pressed forward, one step from history and one breath from war. The glowing stairs led them to a massive chamber. It was unlike anything Darren had ever seen. The walls were smooth, like polished stone, but made of glowing crystal. In the center of the room stood a tall pillar, humming softly with golden energy. Floating above it was a swirling orb, a miniature star, pulsing with light. The boy stopped. His arms glowed brightly now, and the air around him shimmered. That's it, he whispered. The seed. Darren stepped beside him. What does it do? The boy placed his small hand near the orb. It remembers everything. Our people's knowledge, our future, the power to heal planets, or destroy them. He paused. But it only listens to one voice. Then the room changed. The crystal walls lit up and created glowing images, scenes from the past. A proud royal family standing before a golden empire. Armies kneeling before the noble house of Zorval. Then fire. Betrayal. The palace collapsing as friends turned into enemies. The boy's mother screaming, his name as she sealed him in the chest. Darren clenched his fists. They wiped your family from history. The boy turned to him. But not all history is lost. You helped me survive, Protector. Now I help everyone else. He stepped forward and reached out. The orb lowered slowly, as if it had waited for him for years. He touched it. The light exploded. A wave of soft energy passed through the entire vault. Machines awoke. Ancient systems came online. The seed had chosen its heir. The boy gasped, overwhelmed, but the orb lifted him slightly into the air. It responded to his mind, his blood, his will. Then came the enemy. A loud boom shook the room as the doors behind them exploded open. Shadow-armored warriors marched inside, weapons raised, silent, ruthless. Darren raised his blaster. They opened fire. Blue bolts flew across the room. Darren moved like lightning, dodging, returning fire, keeping them away from the boy. But they kept coming. More and more poured in. "Finish the process," Darren shouted. "I'll hold them off." The boy hovered above the seed, his eyes glowing white, and began to speak words in a forgotten language. The vault responded. A wave of golden light circled the orb. Darren shot 2 enemies down, rolled behind a crystal pillar, and fired again. One of the hunters tossed a black sphere. It exploded, sending him flying across the room. He groaned and tried to get up. Blood dripping from his lip, the largest enemy stepped forward, blade in hand, walking straight toward the boy. "No," Darren shouted. He raised his blaster, empty. The hunter raised his blade and stopped, frozen in the air. The boy's voice echoed like thunder. "No more killing." A shockwave burst out from the seed. The hunter dropped his blade. Others stumbled, back. Their armor cracked. The boy descended gently to the floor. His body glowed with calm power. The seed floated above his head like a sun. "I am not your enemy," he said. "I am your future. I will not rebuild what was destroyed. I will build something better." The shadows paused. They didn't kneel, but they didn't attack either. Darren limped to the boy's side, gripping his injured arm. "You did it," he said. The boy looked at him, serious but soft. "No, we did." Then the seed pulsed again, sending out a signal far beyond the asteroid. On distant worlds, machines reactivated. Vaults opened. Forgotten satellites powered up. Across the stars, people saw the mark of Zorval light up in the sky, a signal of return. Not to rule, but to restore. Darren sat in a small room on a station orbiting a green world. He wore clean clothes for the first time in weeks, and a small bandage wrapped his shoulder. He sipped tea, real tea, not ration powder. The door opened. The boy walked in, no longer hiding his face. He wore a simple robe with the noble crest pinned near his chest. His skin still glowed faintly, but his eyes were brighter, no longer afraid. "You should rest," the boy said. Darren smirked. "I've slept more in the last 3 days than in the last 3 years. The boy sat beside him. "You saved me." Darren shook his head. "No, I just delayed them long enough. You saved yourself, and maybe the galaxy too." The boy looked out the window at the world below. "Do you know what I want to do first?" "What? Open a school?" Darren raised an eyebrow. "A school?" "Yes." He smiled. "A place where aliens and humans can learn together, where no one has to hide, where the next protector doesn't have to come from war." Darren was silent for a moment. Then he stood and placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "You'll need help," he said. The boy smiled. "You're not going to disappear, are you?" "Not a chance, kid." The legend of the young noble heir and the human merchant spread across star systems. The seed's knowledge helped rebuild broken worlds. And the vaults that opened carried not weapons, but cures, clean energy, and hope. And in every story, across every corner of the galaxy, one name always returned: Protector. The human who found a chest in the wreckage and chose to protect what others would have sold. The human who didn't just save a prince, he raised a future.